So my stories today are about my identity as a lesbian and as a teacher. I'm a woman, I'm a feminist, a lesbian, a teacher, and maybe a little bit of a writer. I'm growing older now, and I'm giving thanks for being loved and alive on this earth. So from my earliest memories, I was attracted to women, and I had longings and yearnings for them. My dad was an RAF officer, and I loved him as a child, but he was working a lot, and it seemed to me, even as a child, that men and women had very different worlds, which they did in my worlds. And I remember seeing all the men in the morning used to march down the road, saluting each other in their uniforms, and I really thought of them as a separate species. I enjoyed being in the company of women, and I found them very beautiful and very interesting. Women's perfume, women's clothes, women's hair, and I shared so much with my mum and my sister and my granny. And when I went to school first, I adored my teacher. I remember holding her hand and having all excited flutterings. And it seemed to me now that I had two narratives running alongside each other when I was growing up. The first was my own feelings and desires, which mostly I had no words for those. And the second was the accepted heterosexual norms of the time that I absorbed through the family and through stories and films. I went to a girls' boarding school in 1964 when I was 10, and I was attracted to older girls there, and I fell in love with a girl called Gina, we'll call her, with her blue eyes and a hand that stroked my forehead when I had a migraine. And I loved to gaze at her when she was playing the guitar, and I just felt really passionately about her. I've asked myself if I had feelings for close girlfriends my own age when I was at school, but it was so taboo to have feelings like that. I think I suppressed any feelings I might have had, but maybe I did have some, I'm really not sure, because everything sexual between women was such a big no-no. And I remember my set at the tea table, we must have been about 16, and one of my friends said, "I read that 1 in 10 people will turn out to be gay or lesbian. And there were 12 of us here, so at least one of us will be a lesbian." I kind of felt sure it wouldn't be me, but I think what I was imagining was a kind of nasty woman, really. Sad, maybe predatory, ugly, unloved. I don't know where I got that idea from. I mean, I didn't know any lesbians in real life, as far as I knew. But as a young girl, I assumed and I hoped I'd grow up to get married to a good man and have children. In my teens and early 20s, I had relationships with men. And then I discovered feminism in my early 20s and gradually allowed myself to understand that I was attracted to women. When I had my first woman lover in my late 20s, I had no model for long-term lesbian love, and I didn't imagine any happy ever afters or really long-term relationships. Kay and I made our relationship up as we went along, really, and I guess a lot of women did that. We used to say we were lucky because we could make up our own rules, and that was an advantage. But the flip side was there was no encouragement or approval for us as a couple. As a feminist, I guess I understood how men oppressed women in relationships and marriages, and there was no way I wanted to be part of that. But I didn't want to be punished or ostracised for having a female lover either. My friends in my women's group, my sister, were happy for me, but pretty much everybody else was horrified. That's another story, though. I think we need to learn from these stories because we can lose our freedoms so quickly if we aren't vigilant. Just have to look what's happening to LGBT people in many countries around the world now. to know how prejudice and hatred and persecution can be directed at people because of their sexuality. And closer to home, it's very alarming that some groups of people are trying to stop schools from teaching children about LGBT lives and choices.